All right, so this is lecture 2 for dropping ashes on the Buddha, the teachings of Zen Master Seung San. So last week we went through the Heart Sutra and the Diamond Sutra. So all appearance is non-appearance, and form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. We got the concepts of nirvana, anuttara samyak sambodhi, the idea of a bodhisattva being this person who's attained enlightenment, who's attained to the truth. Sorry, didn't want to use the E word. Although later in the class Sung Song will mention enlightenment. But anyway, so bodhisattva who's attained the truth yet still has to live in this world, not has to, but still chooses to live in this world, helping others as opposed to, going and being a hermit, I guess. So moving forward on that, we're going to look at the teaching style of Seung San. How does he help his students? What's the value in having a teacher? And some of these books, like The Mirror of Zen, it talks about finding a keen-eyed Zen master. And of course, since I was always more of like a freedom style guy, I would say, well, if Buddha didn't need a Zen master, why do I? He woke up, right? And but they can help, right? A Zen master and Zen teachers, somebody who's been through all this stuff as well, found some of the pitfalls, found, gone off in different areas, different directions, realizing that they weren't ultimately helpful, and discarded those, kept doing the things that worked. But ultimately, if you have a teacher, someone to help point you in the right direction, you don't even necessarily have to study with them, but if you get somebody who can help you go in the right direction, it'll help you to wake up quicker, basically. And it has been helpful for me, and I'm sure many others through the years, to sometimes, you might even be close to understanding certain things, or not necessarily understand, but attaining or whatever certain things, and sometimes just a little shock, like in a lot of these enlightenment stories, right? It's just one line, and all of a sudden, oh, it's clear or whatever. That's not necessarily what they say. Sky is blue, grass is green, right? So Seung Song has helped many, many people. His teaching style, attracted a lot of people. And we're going to start with, what is Zen? So people come to Zen and, through things, the sound of one hand clapping, be one with the arrow, right? Zen and the art of archery or whatever. So, bowling, be one with the ball, all this kind of stuff, right? And but what really is Zen? What does Zen Master Seung Song talk about? So we're going to start. All right, we are in this book today, so no more Compass of Zen. That was just for last week. So let's look at number 1. All right, so number 1, Zen is understanding yourself. All right, so make a note on that one. All right, so a student asked Zen Master Seung Song, what is Zen? Seung Sa held his Zen stick above his head and said, do you understand? So, is that helpful? The student said, I don't know. Seung Song said, this don't know mind is you. Zen is understanding yourself. The student asked him, so what do you understand about me? Teach me. Sensei Sonsa said, in a cookie factory, different cookies are baked in the shape of animals, cars, people, airplanes. They all have different names and forms, but they're all made from the same dough. and they all taste the same. In the same way, all things in the universe, the sun, the moon, the stars, mountains, rivers, people, so forth, have different names and forms, but they are all made from the same substance. All right, so that's, you're already seeing from last week. And then he goes on to say the universe is organized into pairs of opposites: light, darkness, man and woman, sound and silence, good and bad. But all these opposites are mutual because they are made from the same substance. Names and forms are different, but their substance is the same. So names and forms are made by your thinking. If you are not thinking and have no attachment to name and form, then all substance is one. You don't know mind cuts off all thinking. This is your substance. So, so the student said, some philosophers say this substance is energy or mind or God or matter. Which is the truth? So how is Seung-Sahn going to answer that? He said, 4 blind men went to the zoo and visited the elephant. One blind man touched the side and said it's like a wall. Another one touched its trunk and said it's like a snake. The next one touched its leg and it said it's like a column. And the last one touched its tail and said it's like a broom. And the 4 blind men started to fight, each one believing his opinion was right. So each only understood the part he had touched. None of them understood the whole. Substance has no name and form. Energy, mind, God, and matter are all name and form. So substance is the absolute. Having name and form is opposites. So this is back to our absolute, right? Non-dualistic thinking. Once you're having opposites, you're not in the absolute anymore. So not understanding yourself is not understanding the truth. If all people in the world understood themselves, they would attain the absolute and the world would be at peace. So Zen, is it the absolute? Is it understanding yourself? Is it world peace? And then the absolute is big I. So he goes back to the question. The student said, how can I understand the absolute? Sun-Sa said, you must understand yourself. The student said, how can I understand myself? Seung-Sahn held up the sun stick and said, do you see this? He quickly hit the table with the stick. Do you hear this? The stick, the sound, and your mind, are they the same or different? The student said, the same. Seung-Sahn said, if you say they are the same, I will hit you 30 times. If you say they are different, I will still hit you 30 times. Why? The student was quiet. He then shouted, cats! And he said, spring comes, the grass grows by itself. So, right here, he's trying to help this student, right? I mean, too many words are not going to help this student. He gave him all these words, yet the student still says, how can I understand the absolute? So, he's trying to basically get him out of dualistic thinking, right? If he says same or if he says different, don't make same or different. So next one is the Zen circle, which we're on number 2. And so for a while, Zen Master Seung-Sahn was teaching this idea of this Zen circle. Mine's got all these notes on it, but different degrees on the compass for different things. And we'll go through them briefly. But, you know, it's just a teaching device, kind of like in the Heart Sutra, you know, gone to the other shore, right? Once you get to the other shore, you don't need the boat anymore, right? So I don't know how long he taught the Zen circle. This book is from his when he was early on in America. I don't know how many years it covers, probably just, I don't know. But it's all early on in his teaching, and his teaching style, continued to change and change. But for a while, he was doing this Zen circle. And so again, okay, his lecture, what is Zen? Zen is understanding myself. What am I? So that's a good line for us. So the mantra that Sung San talks about a lot in this book is just keep what am I? The mantra being what am I? Don't know. And because it's this don't know mind which will help us to attain this absolute, to understand ourselves. However, in the Buddha Dharma University, generally instead of keeping the great question of what am I, we keep the question of what is this? And the reason for that is that I can bring up a lot of concepts that people could get hung up on. So if you're keeping that as a mantra for the don't know mind, might want to keep what is this instead of what am I. And we will get a lot more to don't know mind next week. So, so let's look at this compass. All right, he says he explains Zen by means of a circle. There are 5 points on the circle. So we have 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360. So we start from 0 to 90. So he says this is the area of thinking and attachment. Thinking is desire, desire is suffering. All of us are separated into opposites. Good, bad, beautiful, ugly, mine, yours, blah, blah, blah. Life is suffering. Suffering is life. All the stuff we talked about last week. So past 90 degrees, he calls this the area of consciousness or karma 1. So below 90, attachment to name and form. Here there is attachment to thinking. Before you were born, you were 0. Now you are 1. In the future, you will die and again be 0. So 0 equals 1, 1 equals 0. All things here are the same because they are the same substance. They have name and form, but their name and forms come from emptiness, return from emptiness. This is still thinking. So this is the area from 90 to 180. So at 180, right, so this is this area here. So at 180, there is no thinking at all. This is the experience of true emptiness. Before thinking, there are no words and speech. So there are no mountains, no rivers, no God, no Buddha, nothing. There is only, and that's kind of, that's the answer they always use for that. Hit the table, hit the floor, whatever. All right, so next area is this up to 270 degrees. Magic and miracles. Here there is complete freedom with no hindrance in space or time. It's called live thinking. So he goes on to say, I can change my body into a snake, ride a cloud to the western haven. I can walk on water. So if you say that at 180, if you stay at 180, you become attached to emptiness. If you stay at 270, you become attached to freedom. So at 360, so the area, now we're going back all the way basically to the beginning, right? Although it's different, right? Because it's 360 instead of 0. All things are just as they are. The truth is just like this. Just like this means there is no attachment to anything. So this point is exactly the same as 0. We arrive where we began, where we've always been. The difference is that 0 is attachment thinking, while 360 is no attachment thinking. So, all right, he gives an example here. So attachment thinking, your mind, if you're driving with attachment thinking, your mind will be somewhere else and you'll go through the red light. No attachment thinking means your mind is clear all the time. When you drive, you aren't thinking, you're just driving. So the truth is just like this. Red means stop, green means go. Intuitive action, without any desire or attachment. Again, the idea of the clear mirror. Red comes, mirror becomes red. So it goes on to say, I have no desires for myself. My actions are for all people. So he's going to put some labels on these. So 0, he calls this small I. 90 is karma I. 180 is nothing I. 270 is freedom I. And 360 is big I. Infinite time, infinite space, no life, no death. I only wish to save all people. If people are happy, I am happy. So, and kind of like we talked about before now with the boat, right? So when Zen is reaching 360, when you reach 360, all degrees on the circle disappear. So the circle is just a teaching device, doesn't really exist, just an idea. So we'll see more of these Dharma exchanges later, but here's a little idea of how he kind of thinks about them or uses them to test students. So he holds up a book and a pencil, and he asks, are they the same or different? All right, so right away we've got our conundrum again, right? So at 0 degrees, they're different, right? So you're attached to name and form, right? They're different. 180, all thinking is cut off, so there's no words or speech. So if you're at 180 and he says this book and this pencil, same or different, no words or speech. At 270, all right, he's talking about perfect freedom. So what do you think like a freedom answer is when you're asked this pen and this book are different? And these are actually a style of koans that we'll get to. We'll see a little bit of them in this book. So basically at 270, the answer he says is, the book is angry, the pencil laughs. Right? Anything. Do not limit. At 360, the truth is just like this. Spring comes, the grass grows by itself. So, oops, all right, there we go. Still going. Sorry, my screensaver kicked in. So, the truth is just like this. So at each point, the answer is different. Which one is the correct answer? Never get to rest with this guy, right? So all 5 answers are wrong. Why? After he asked this, he waited a bit and he shouted, "Cats! The book is blue, the pencil is yellow." Well, of course, that's not true for this, right? The book is brown, the pen is black. So, so what is truth? How do we get to truth? What is truth? What is Zen? How do we attain Zen? All right, so we'll move on to number 4 on page 12. Oh, yes, this one. All right, so one of the things that Seung Sang's doing in this book is he did a lot of his work by responding to people's mail letters. So he would work with people through the mail, which of course is now a bit of an odd concept. Or email would be much quicker. We can use Skype now. But anyway, it's kind of hard to do Zen through Seung Sang's teaching style through letters. So how does he do it? That's a good question. So generally when we get to sections where a student has sent a letter to Seung Sang, they're part of the reading assignment, so I'm not necessarily going to read what the student wrote. We're just going to focus on how the Zen master answered. And so we're focusing on what is Zen. And this letter we are going to revisit, or this answer, we are going to be revisiting in lecture 3 and lecture 4 as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of pick out the parts that apply to the question at hand, which is, what is Zen? So in your letter, you have said that you have read many books about Zen. That's good. But if you are thinking, you can't understand Zen. So this is a super important point. I mean, if you are thinking, you can't understand Zen. I mean, maybe you've heard this before, maybe it's sunk in, maybe you understood this, but if you are thinking, you can't understand Zen. So Zen is before thinking. And and how do we get there? How do we get to this point where we're not thinking? And again, as defined in the Diamond Sutra, not thinking does not mean non-thinking. Not thinking means not attaching to any thoughts that arise in the mind. So let's keep these straight. And we'll get to this don't know mind, clear mind, before thought mind next week. So anything that can be written in a book, anything that can be said, all this is thinking. If you are thinking, all Zen books, sutras, Bibles are demons' words. But if you read with a mind that has cut off all thinking, then Zen books, sutras, and Bibles are the truth. So is the barking of a dog or the crowing of a rooster. All things are teaching you at every moment. So, and these sounds are even better teaching than Zen books. So Zen is keeping the mind, which is before thinking. All right. So this person now wants to talk about practice. Hopefully you're working with a teacher or getting that in another class. We're not going to spend time on that in this class. We're roughly trying to get these lectures to about 50 minutes or so. And sorry I'm squinting all the time. I'm not wearing my glasses when I look at the computer. Hopefully. I'm getting at that age where it's easy to read without my glasses, so I don't want to keep taking them on and off. So, so we're going to move on to page 15, where it says, all right, so the student was apparently having a rough time with their Zen, because at the beginning they were enthusiastic, now they're discouraged, and Sung Song says, both extremes are no good. It's like a guitar string. If you make it too tight, it will be out of tune and soon snap. If you make it too loose, it will be out of tune and won't play. You must tune it just right. Too enthusiastic is no good. Too discouraged is no good. So don't make opposites. Don't make dualistic. Tight and loose. So Zen mind is everyday mind. All right, so we have another one. So what does that mean? Well, so we're saying, right, don't make it special. It's everyday mind. It's, you know, my robe is green, my casa is burgundy. Background on the screen is blue. Cars driving by. So keep this mind during every action. Eating, talking, playing tennis, watch. Always keep don't know mind. So we'll get to don't know mind next week. But basically, you know, the mind that's before thinking. I mean, we talked about that already. So if you don't have free time for sitting, do action Zen. But be very careful about wanting enlightenment. This is a Zen sickness. So when you keep a clear mind, the whole universe is you. You are the universe. So giving words. So you have already attained enlightenment. Wanting enlightenment is only thinking. And we'll get to that later, more on enlightenment. So she sends him another letter, and he answers her. He talks now about great faith. Keep the mind that decided to practice. You know, we've heard about great faith, great courage, and great questioning. And of course, for us, right? Great questioning. What is this? What am I? Keep that don't know mind. Great courage. You know, bringing all your energy to one point. You know, cutting off all thinking and directing all your energy to one point. I mean, it takes work. I mean, Zen mind is everyday mind, yes, but it's also keeping that mind right here, moment to moment to moment mind. So the reason we're looking at this one in lecture 2, though, is he says Zen mind, always and everywhere believing in myself. So Zen mind means always and everywhere believing in myself. I vow to become Buddha and save all people. And so, you know, if you get discouraged, or anyone gets discouraged trying to practice, and everyone will, right, at some point going, I want to attain enlightenment. I want to have some great enlightenment experience. I saw some guy on the internet talking about this moment where him and everything was one and it was great. I want that, you know. I magically want to lose all my suffering and fears and all that. You know, whatever ideas you bring to it, you have to put them all down, right? You have to believe that it is there, right? All of us. There's nothing special about enlightenment. So we just have to keep that great faith and believe always and everywhere in ourselves that we are big I, absolute. We are not separate from all this. So he goes on to tell her, Zen is not difficult. If you say it is difficult, that means you have been checking yourself, checking your situation, your condition, your opinions. So what is that? Checking? Is it like listening to the inner critic? You know, having these fears? You know, so you say Zen is difficult, right? So we're listening to the brain. But if you keep the mind that is before thinking, Zen is not difficult, and it is not easy. It is only as it is. Don't make difficult, don't make easy, just practice. Non-dualistic thinking. So, and that's what he goes on to say here. You must throw away all these opposites, and the truth will be only like this. So we're going to go on to another definition right now. So he's going to go on to say, the absolute is true emptiness. True emptiness is before thinking. Before thinking is like this. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is emptiness. So your don't know mind is true emptiness, is before thinking. This is the absolute. It is your true self, clear mind. So we're going to see those as we go on to in lecture 4. So he goes on again to say life is Zen. So what is Zen? Zen is life. So, all right. I think that's enough because we're going to visit that one later. The part I just read is actually going to have more relevance in lecture 4, so I'm going to save it for that. All right, so let's move to number 47, which is on page 103. And so we already looked at this one briefly last week, and we're going to look at it again later on. But the interesting part for lecture 2 on this one, it says, when you are able to stay, so what is this? This is a Dharma talk that he gave. It talks a little bit about the Heart Sutra and stuff. So let's go through this one. So he hits the table with the Zen stick and he says, "Do you understand this? If you do, you understand one. If you don't, you separate things into 10,000 classes and 1,000 levels." So it's checking, 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 right? Do you understand this? If you start thinking, oh, what does he want me to understand? You're separating things, right? And you don't understand it. If you're not thinking, so if you open your mouth and say you understand, I will hit you 30 times. If you don't, I will still hit you 30 times. Why? So he says, when you are able to stay perfectly clear by cutting off all thinking and yet not falling into a trance-like sleep, this is thinking. So he talked about meditation, seated meditation. When inside and outside become one and no circumstances can hinder you, this is Zen. So so use that diamond sword, take it off, cut off good and bad, long and short, coming and going, high and low, God and Buddha, cut off all things. So that's the practice, right? That's the practice of Zen. You know, seated meditation is what? Right? I mean, that's just practice under ideal conditions, right? You're seated in a nice, comfortable spot, or maybe not so comfortable, and you're just practicing using your diamond sword, keeping the great question, clear mind before thinking. All right. Let's look at number 50. Looks like that's on page 111. So we have a question from a Zen student. And on page 112, Sing Song answers. So he says, so it's about true sitting, you know, to cut off all thinking and to keep not moving mind, just what we were talking about. True Zen means to become clear. Beautiful words and hard sitting are important, but attachment to them is dangerous. Then you would not be able to understand true sitting Zen. So we want to become clear. And there's a little story on this, right? So a Zen master, Toan, he was visiting another temple and he began a conversation with a monk who didn't realize he was a Zen master. And this monk was proclaiming about his master, how great he was, doing 1,000 prostrations, eating once a day, always sitting Zen. And this Toan Zen master said, well, it sounds like an extraordinary man. I can't do any of these things. I can't bow 1,000 times, but my mind is never lazy. I can't eat only once a day, but I never desire food. I can't stay in a temple for more than a short time, but wherever I go, I have no hindrance. I can't sit Zen for very long, but I never give rise to thinking. The monk said, I don't understand. Toan said, go ask your master to explain. And the master came out and said, you are a great Zen master. Please let me become your disciple. And Toan laughed and said, no, I can't be your teacher. You are already a great Zen master. All you need to do is keep the mind you had when you were bowing to me. Already you are a free man. Before you were bowing, sitting, and eating for only yourself. Now it is for all people. So, become clear. That Zen master was attached to his training, right? He was trying to get something that's already there. He already had it. He just needed a little. All right. So let's look at number 54. Zen and the arts. So, student asked him about the relationship between Zen and the arts, and Sun Tzu said, Zen is understanding life and death. Why are you alive? The student said, I don't know. Why will you have to die? So Zen master said, people live and die on earth without understanding what life and death are. So Zen is the great work of life and death. This part here is interesting. I'm not sure if we cover it later or not, but it says, if you are thinking, your mind, my mind, and all people's minds are different. If you are not thinking, your mind, my mind, and all people's minds are the same. I don't know if you've ever kept that, like kind of like a koan or whatever, where you just keep it in your mind. It's pretty interesting because you'll have moments where it's like, you know, you have before thought moments and all, and it's like, holy shit, right? Then of course, as soon as you say holy shit, you lose it, right? But anyway, it's very interesting, right? Because how do we make difference? Thinking, right? So if we keep our before thought mind, your mind, my mind, and all people's minds are the same. So Sing Song says, yes, if you cut off all thinking, this mind is before thinking. If you keep the before thinking mind, and I keep the before thinking mind, we become one mind. Student says, if we cut off all thinking, there's no mind. Very good, there's no mind, but its name is one mind. So before thinking, there are no words or speech, no life or death, and what is your true self? Student was silent. Sing San said, Zen is understanding your true self. Now we got to update our list here a little bit. All right. You must ask yourself, what am I? So it's the great question, what is this? So Zen is not knowing, not thinking. So when you understand your true self, it returns back to the question. It's very easy to paint, write poems, do calligraphy, do karate, etc. When you are painting or writing, or you become totally absorbed in that action. You are only painting, you are only writing. No thinking gets between you and the action. There is only not thinking action. This is freedom, right? So this is where we get kind of the, you know, the, what is it called? Anyway, that idea of I am one with the painting or whatever, right? If you're thinking, your mind wanders away from your action. Flow of your painting or writing will be blocked. Your tea ceremony will be stiff or clumsy. If you are thinking, checking, am I doing right? Do I look good? Blah, blah, blah. So instead, you are the tea that you are drinking. You are the brush that you're painting. Right? So this is kind of sunyata in words, right? Don't make self and other. Don't make difference. And so sometimes Sing San is teaching with words. He's kind of telling what's going on. You are the tea. You are the brush. Not thinking is before thinking. You are the universe. The universe is you. This is Zen mind, absolute mind. It is beyond space and time, beyond the dualities of life and death. The truth is just like this. So when a Zen person is painting, the whole universe is present in the tip of the brush. So I'm not sure if we want to put that one down there too. So it says, well, he's talking more about Zen mind instead of Zen being, you know, good and bad, beyond life and death. So I'm just going to leave that for now. What is that? That's the list I've been keeping track of as we go. I'll show you at the end. So page 177, looks like number 79 we've got. This is going to be our last one. She'll put us over at the 40-minute mark. That should be plenty. All things are your teachers. So I'm laughing because so this guy Ed writes Sung-san a letter, and if you haven't read it yet, it's this page, it's this page, it's this page, and it's to here. And and Sung-san's opening response to this letter is, "Dear Ed, thank you for your letter. It was very, very long." This is good. Sometimes we talk about word sickness, right? The idea of either thinking we're going to get enlightened through words, or we're going to wake up through words, or just describing everything using so many words. So anyway, this is good, but I told you that opening your mouth is wrong. Only keep your mouth closed. In the Heart Sutra, it says, perceives that all 5 skandhas are empty. We covered this last week. So at the end he says, now I think you have lost your beginner's mind. You know, what is most important is how you keep your mind. So the reason we're looking at it for this week is, in your letter you said that you create the world around you and that each person creates his own heaven and hell. So words are very easy, right? So we can talk about this, oh yeah, it's very clear. I mean, I can see in my own life the things that I suffer over, and that's part of the practice, right? This thing bothers me, so I have an attachment to that. How do I get past that, drop that attachment? Because it's all in my mind, right? So words are very easy, right? Breaking that attachment is not just as simple as saying, I'm not going to let that bother me, right? That's how it starts, but it takes some action. So Zen means not making all these things. So Zen means not making all this. Guess I gotta move the mouse every once in a while here. Zen means not making all these things. Then there is nothing. This is true emptiness. True emptiness means no hindrance. Why do you make world, me, other people, etc.? You must understand your true self, then you will be able to understand other people's minds. How can you, apparently as a teacher, how can you teach other people if you don't understand yourself? So he goes on a bit later here to say, your mind will be like a clear mirror. Red comes, becomes red. White comes, becomes white. So this clear mirror is used quite a bit. And why is that, right? Kind of in the example I was just saying. Let's, if situation A annoys me, right, and situation A comes before my clear mirror, and now I'm attached, and I'm like, oh, that drives me nuts. Well, situation A disappears, still here. There's still some remnant. It wasn't a clear mirror. It didn't just come and go. So when we're practicing Zen, when we're dropping attachments, when we're not attaching to our thinking, right? Because now I've had a lot of situations where things that used to bother me, they come into the mirror, and sometimes the thoughts are even still there. Oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. But then it goes away, the thoughts are gone as well. No attachment to them. I mean, thoughts still come, but if I'm not buying into them, like Sing-Song said earlier, actually like we read in the Diamond Sutra what she was talking about. We just don't attach. Do not attach to anything that rises in the mind. And it comes, then it goes. So good and bad are both your true teachers. If you cut off your small eye, there's no like or dislike, good or bad. And boy, that's a big hook, right? Because surely genocide is bad. Surely the plague was bad. Surely, right? Easy to grab onto. Oh, there's good and bad. Come to this moment right now. Quit judging. What am I? What is this? Don't know. So, so the last part in here we'll look at, he talks about Zen, or sitting again. Sitting means cutting off all thinking, keeping not moving mind, right? It's just practice, right? Thoughts come, we grab onto them, we realize we grabbed onto them, we come back to just sitting. What is this? Don't know. Thoughts come, grab onto them, let go. But anyway, he goes on to say, what is Zen? Zen means becoming clear. All right, we already got that one. So if you really understand Zen, it is not, we talked about this, it's not necessary to have a Zen master, a 100-day retreat, a hard training place, Providence or Cambridge Zen centers. Then you can do walking, standing, sitting, sleeping, talking, being silent. All these things will be your practice. Always keep a clear mind. Always return to your true self. Then there are no eyes, no ears, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object, no mind. Then you will understand no attainment with nothing to attain. Cut off I want enlightenment mind. So, we read this many, many times, but sometimes it's not easy to do because we have this idea. And later, we'll get into looking at some of these enlightenment stories and what Sing Song said about enlightenment. So, I always like to think if enlightenment's not here in this very moment, where is it? So, all right. So I think that's going to be it for what is Zen. So here's my list. I don't know if you can read it. So we got Zen is understanding yourself, and then he later said, well, understanding your true self. What am I? Keeping don't know mind. Zen is reaching 360 on the Zen circle. We'll probably see a little more of the Zen circle later. Zen is keeping the mind that is before thinking. Zen is everyday mind. Zen mind is everyday mind. Zen is to become clear. Zen is understanding life and death. So, it's a lot of things, right? So, Zen is understanding yourself. Zen is becoming clear. And we've seen how Sing Song has tried to teach that. So next week we're going to look at Don't Know Mind, which we've talked about a little bit, and see how he helps people with that.